Is Farage going to betrayal? So that is the question before the jury. Is Farage going to betrayal? So that is the question before the jury. Let's get into it. The context that I want to bring first of all is there's three major players on the global stage currently. You have China. They are in the empire building business and they are doing it by exporting cheap products built on the back of slave labour. Then if you look at America, they are doing it through use of force. Might is right. And then you look at India, you look at the subcontinent, who Britain have recently gave a free trade deal to. They are doing it by also export of cheap goods, but they're also doing it by export of people. In fact, it is a key line of Modi's foreign policy. He wants expats and people from India to be part of his diplomatic corps, both literally and figuratively, when they are in other countries. That is a concern, and I want to get into a few other bits and pieces as well. So I'm going to play the first clip from Farage. I'm going to play the first clip here. This is what everyone is up in arms about.
Underutilised the amazing advantages we have across the rest of the world. You know, we turned our backs on India. We turned our backs on the Commonwealth countries in the 70s. We decided that Europe was our future. That became a sort of foreign office and political priority over decades. And we've turned our backs on large parts of the world where there is still a remarkable relationship between those former colonies and ourselves. So we need to think more globally in every way.
This is what he said. Now, there's a few things I want to unpack here. I agree in principle that we turned our back on the Commonwealth and the former Empire nations with the ascension into the EU. Of course, I do agree with that in principle. However, that doesn't mean we need to import the entire Empire and Commonwealth here, and this is the concern. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but I have repeated this many times on my channel, so I'll say it again. British Nationality Act of 1948 gave former colony countries and dominions rights to reside in the UK. They're known as the Windrush generation. Not many came, it was in the tens of thousands, but they were given the opportunity and right to do so, and that right is still here today. Now, as I say, we don't know specifically what Farage means here. When you look at the EU, their movements are for the four freedoms are free movement of goods, services, capital, and there's another one, but I'll put it on screen now anyway. There's four freedoms. Now, Farage wanted to leave the EU. Now, did he want to leave the EU to tweak these freedoms, and only do goods, services, and whatnot? Or did he want to include people? That is the question before the jury, and that is up in the air. So we're going to end this clip here. As I previously mentioned, the free trade deal that we've currently got with India that Keir Starmer was touting as a great success and a great win. It's not a great success or a great win if you've got something to lose in the United Kingdom. And when I say something to lose, I mean the working class man and woman. Because, as it currently stands, the trade deal allows companies in the United Kingdom to import people from India and pay them less than they have to pay for British-born people. The national insurance hike that Rachel McCants put through only applies to British indigenous people. It doesn't apply to foreign imports, and that is of people from India. So it makes the job market more competitive for people like me, and likely will depress our wages. This is the thing with free trade, if it includes people. Well, not just people, everything, and this is why I am fundamentally against free trade. It doesn't protect the country. It protects corporate interests. This is the issue. If I import something from America, I should be paying for that, nobody else. If people, goods, services, capital are imported to the United Kingdom, it needs to be done in a way that protects the local people and the local areas and doesn't give foreign companies or interests the right to strip mine our country. This is the issue, and this is what we need to be mindful of. Why do I think Farage might betray us? Well, if you look at Nadine Dorries, for example, She was in the last Tory government. She introduced the online safety bill into Parliament, which everybody hates. So the Tories did it, and now the next government is running with it, the Labour government. So let's just see. The full online safety bill was formally introduced into the House of Commons on the 17th of March 2022, the first reading, during Nadine Dorries' tenure as Culture Secretary from 2021 September. Government announcements and press releases from that time credit her departments and describe her as overseeing the introduction with statements like the online safety bill has been introduced to Parliament today from her. She actively defended and promoted it, describing it as a manifesto commitment to make the UK the safest place online while protecting free expression. However, she inherited and pushed forward an already developed policy, so it wasn't entirely her brainchild. No shit, she is not that bright. But the point is, this is how government works. You'll have people in Parliament introduce a bill from one part of the uni party, in this case it was the Tories, and the next government will actually implement the policy in the next Parliament, and this is the way that it works. What gives me room for pause here, and I don't know which way Farage is going to go, is because Nadine Dorries is now in Reform UK. I think she's come over to Reform UK because she wanted a peerage that the Tories declined her. However, don't be blind, is what I'm saying. I'm a Reform voter currently. My MP Sarah Pochin is a marked improvement on anything we'd had up in Runcorn for the past 50 years. However, we cannot be blind when information presents itself. I am not a Farage loyalist. I'm a Britain loyalist, and I'll always put the interests of the country first over any party. No party is entitled to my vote. I am the true definition of a floating voter. Reform UK is the best shop in town, currently, and I stress currently. Matt Goodwin, he's a good pick for the seat to Gorton in Manchester. He's a good pick, and if you're in that constituency, you should be voting for him. It's better than getting an Islamist, which is what they're doing in Birmingham currently. They're actually getting former terrorists to run to stop people who care about the country, like me, from winning council seats. This is what we're up against. Farage is the best of a bad lot, but we shouldn't have to. That shouldn't be the choice. You should be enthusiastically picking the person that you want to vote for. You shouldn't be picking Farage because, all right, we'll give him a go. We've not had the others, so he's the default. Back to the trade issue, and this is the issue that a lot of people sometimes overlook. Trade deals are really even. If you look at the size of China, if you look at the size of America, if you look at the size of India in terms of population, they're all bigger than Britain by several factors. I think India's got over 1 billion people. That's going to be a very one-sided trade deal, and it's going to be skewed towards India. And it's the same with China. I'm going to play this clip from China because our Prime Minister currently is sniffing about in China up the communists' rear end looking for a trade deal. This is what China thinks of Britain, so I'm going to play this clip now.
Are you an ally? Are you a threat? How would you regard your relationship with Britain? First of all, between China and Britain, from the Chinese perspective, Britain is not a rival, it's not a competitor, it is not an enemy, it's not an adversary. Britain is just an important country to get along with in peace and in friendship and for mutual benefit. Now, how Britain looks at China, it's up to the British government and people to decide. But I think it would be completely misguided for Britain to view China as an enemy or adversary or a competitor. What do China and Britain compete with? China is the largest manufacturer of automobiles. Competing with Britain? No. China is the largest exporter of EV cars and will lead the whole world in EV production. Is Britain a competitor? No. China will be the biggest and most important producer and R&D in terms of semiconductor in no time.
So this is the thing. If it's going to be a one-sided trade deal where essentially our country is sold out to either the communists or the subcontinent, what are our politicians getting out of it? This is the question again before the jury that we need to ask. I don't think it's my interest that's going to be represented by a Chinese trade deal or an Indian trade deal. Do you? And this is the issue, and this is why people need to be wary of any politician.
Does that mean that China competes with Britain? No. China will be the leading nation in AI revolution. Is Britain a competitor? No. So I think British government should not overestimate its impact on the global scene and view Britain as a rival of China. China is not. China is a fact. China is a megatrend for Britain to live with and get along with.
So we'll leave that one here. So from the communist point of view, we're merely a blip on the radar, not too important. Room for thought, and I'll leave that with you. So what do you think? Do you think we need to be concerned, cautiously optimistic with Farage, or is he going to sell us out like every party and political operative in the United Kingdom has done before? You let me know. I'm not saying either way, I don't know. I'm saying it's a point of order, a point of concern. Comment below, like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff, and yeah, vote reform until something better comes along. That would be my advice currently. Have a good day.